The Mothership is back after about 1 year of being dismantled, scrapped for parts, etc. We now have the Mothership, the next generation. This video is not a complete rundown. It's not a commissioning video. I did that last Sunday or so. It's not a first patch. It's more like the second and slowly growing patch. But maybe let's talk a little bit about the Mothership in historic context. The TNG Mothership was established by the end of 2020, which is quite some time ago. You can see the first video displaying it from December 2020, I think, and then had a small overhaul to bring it to battle configuration in January following that, and a big update by the mid of 21 doing the Bloop in B thingy, and then was dismantled around April last year to focus on Riemann's world, and since then there had only been Riemann's world. The roots of the Mothership, having like a big modular configuration, go back much further. The first video I think is from June 2015, which is like almost 8 years ago, in the context of the Mothership being a large modular case combined with other modular and not so modular stuff. So what were the design principles for that next generation? And before we go into the details, what is in the signal chain today is that setup plus the mixer behind me. However, for signal considerations you can ignore that. It's just going into that and from there into the recorder and no treatment whatsoever. And secondly, there's no other components except for the monster base and the monster case, which will change in the future, like it did in the past. Design principles. Differently from the last version, this has kind of a, I'd call it yin and yang approach. As you may remember, the old TNNG Mothership, start again. Design principles. You may remember the old TNG Mothership, which had mostly CV generation and processing in the base and signal generation and processing in the case. This has changed to what I would call a kind of yin and yang approach, which means that both halves can operate independently, just like the TNG starships from Star Trek, with the saucer and engineering section, with the upper section being more of the yin part with let's say random aleatoric kind of sequencing with, for example, marbles and bloom, and with more crazy digital voices. On the other hand, on the bottom you have really straightforward sequencing and MIDI interfacing with Hermit. You have analog as oscillators, etc. Although that is not strictly a one-to-one division. There's overlap like the scanned oscillator in the bottom half, and on the other hand, René could very much also work in the bottom half as well, as opposed to in the top half where it's at right now. And finally, I've been using stages a lot for touring machines within Riemann's world, but it's still sitting in the bottom because, yeah, that's how I wanted it. Also in that context, it's fair to mention that the modules on the right side are often modules that are currently under consideration. This is in the top row, the disting, one of the quad switches, and the for Unity mixer in the row below, the pip slope, and the TG3 filter, which, while it's really cool, is not something I could warm up to so far. And in the bottom row we have for disposal the USB adapter, the A111.6 synth voice, and below that an additional A142 dual envelope. So let's move to the actual music making, because that might be interesting to you. Okay, gonna turn this off. Can I stop this by pressing this? No. This is fun. Okay, there's ugly noises in here, which come from the, what's it called? Spring reverb thing. So, trying to give you a quick rundown. I'll do my best to make that stick. Let's turn everything off that can be turned off without ruining what the system is doing. I can press play here. And you immediately hear something happening. This is kind of an arpeggiated voice, which is played by working on the OMS ensemble oscillator by shifting the root note. I can also turn this into chord mode, and for completeness, the arpeggio is generated by the clap dias. I have also something that goes into the scale input, that is the CCV, which I don't know if I even remember to load this properly, so let's... Sounds pretty ugly right now, so let's change that. Okay, there's also a filter in the signal path, but I don't remember which one. This is just the LPG, which I can use to turn this down somehow, and this then goes, as said, into the spring reverb. Spend too much time on that. I have kind of a bass synthesizer voice. I like the sound very much, I have to say. This is the Platz with one of the new algorithms, the DX7 kind of algorithm. This goes into a NOT filter, which is the 1016, which is running in L-pass mode. And then into the mixer and to the output. Let's start the drum beat. I have a bass drum here, a hi-hat, and a snare drum. Bass drum is the kick-all, which goes both directly into the mixer and then through a distortion wave shaper and then through a wasp filter. So I can do with the bass things with the bass drum. Hi-hat is the MFP 522, nothing added to that. And snare drum, yeah, that's Bassimilus Iteritas Alter. Let's just call it BIA, which then goes into the A166 expander filter and then gets routed through a C5000 for some reverb and then into the mixer. By the way, the drums are sequenced with a Varigate 4+, and I can also, old school style, switch this to something different. Now the last signal sources. This is Ornament and Grime Wisnut Crab is what it's called, I think. They are going to a mimeophone. Which is fun. Actually, I like the groove with the hi-hats, and the 522 also has that nice choke functionality in true 808 style. Yeah, pretty much that's how you play with that. Let's maybe expand the a lot of modulation is happening. There are Turing machines that I use mainly for the snare drum. Marbles does things which affect things. So as you can see, this is a true everything affects everything nightmare. There's another fun thing. I have a delay kind of thing with Augustus loop, which gets somehow modulated that I can put on the drums. I don't know how it's even set. 50% feedback. Why doesn't it change the feedback? It should definitely do so. Yeah, so I can change the feedback here for some reason, but I don't care at the moment. Okay, let's cut that out later. So this is an utter nightmare in the end. Yeah, nothing much more to say about this, but I enjoy it. I can somehow... now it's getting crazy. I can somehow turn this back to normal. Let's remove all of those parts for a moment. I want to do something with the hi-hats. I think 2 is the closed hi-hat. No, it's the open hi-hat. Let's just run a 16th one here. Let's turn the repeat down on all but one. And then adjust the length. How do I do that? maybe reduce the reverb here. And also the filter. Okay, that was a completely boring presentation. Thanks for listening in. By the way, I can adjust the envelope that is hitting the timbre on the plots. There's a lot happening. This has gone way out of control. I definitely need to redo that, especially with the settings for the pisting. I forgot to save the preset, that's what the problem is. Need to redo that. Thanks for listening, there will be more with that system. Maybe next time, again with the drum machine and keyboards and whatnot. Bye!